Dolores Hawthorne's voice crackled over the community center microphone as she pointed directly at me clipboard, trembling in her grip. This man is impersonating a CEO to undermine HOA authority. Cameras flashed. I calmly stepped forward, held up the bylaws and said, "My name is Jasper Reed, CEO of Lucent Motors, and you just broke California law." It was one of those golden California mornings, the kind where the breeze smells like jasmine and ambition. Bloomridge Heights was humming softly, sprinklers, hissing kids zipping down the sidewalks on scooters, and somewhere in the distance a dog barking at a squirrel like it owed him money. I was elbow deep in the frunk of my Lucent Bloom edition, coaxing a stubborn sensor wire back into place when my phone buzzed on the tool bench next to a cold cup of coffee and a half-eaten lemon bar. The subject line on the email almost made me drop the torque wrench. Urgent vehicle impound notice, violation of HOA regulation 7.4.2. My brow furrowed. The sender, Dolores Hawthorne. Of course. Magnolia Circle's self-declared Queen of Roses. Peace and punitive action. I opened the email and read it once, then twice. Mr. Reed, it began in her usual passive-aggressive flourish. Your electric vehicle was observed parked outside of your designated garage space in direct violation of our Community Aesthetic Policy Section 7.4.2. It has therefore been impounded per HOA protocol. A retrieval fee of $1 and $200 is now due. She even attached a grainy photo of my Lucent sitting peacefully in our lavender-lined driveway. The irony: I'm Jasper Reed, 52 years old, CEO of Lucent Motors, a $600 billion electric car company built on innovation, sustainability, and common sense. Dolores just declared war on the guy who designs the future because my wheels offended her petunias. I stood there blinking in the sunlight, staring at my empty driveway like I'd been robbed by a flower shop. From the porch, Moran called out, holding a ceramic mug that read, "Queen of Compost." She's my wife, 45, brilliant, sarcastic, and the kind of woman who paints entire gardens onto canvas and somehow makes you feel like you've walked through them. "Everything okay, Jazz?" she asked, strolling barefoot across the flagstones, trailing the scent of eucalyptus and fresh ink. I held up my phone. Dolores impounded the car. Marin stared, then burst into laughter so loud it made the wind chimes clatter. "She towed your car from our driveway. Apparently it violated her sacred shrub symmetry," I muttered. "That's Dolores," she chuckled, sipping her tea. "Goddess of HOA overreach." Just then our front door slammed open and Aiden, our 16-year-old chaos merchant, appeared in a hoodie and socks holding a bag of chips in his streaming laptop like it was a bomb detonator. "What happened?" he asked, eyes scanning the scene like we were on a crime show. "Your dad just got by the Pedal Patrol," Marin quipped. "Wait," what he blinked. I handed him the phone. As he read the email, his grin grew until it could have powered our solar panels. "Oh my God, this is content. I'm going live in 5. "Don't you dare," I warned. Dad. Come on. This is HOA, Karen levels of chaos. People live for this. I live for not getting sued." "I'll blur faces," he said, already typing. Marin rolled her eyes. "Blur your math homework while you're at it." 5 minutes later, Aiden was sitting on the porch, swing mic clipped to his collar, narrating the great Lucent towing incident with the flair of a news anchor at the Super Bowl. "Okay, so imagine this," he began, looking straight into the camera. "You live in the eco-friendliest neighborhood in Northern California. Your dad runs Lucent Motors. He literally invented the car, and some flower tyrant named Dolores tows it for ruining her view of tulips. Guys. He pulled up the photo from the email, zooming in dramatically. "Behold the offending crime, the evil Lucent, just sitting there, menacingly, in a driveway of a house that we own." I watched from the garage, horrified and a little impressed. Marin leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, hiding a smirk. "He's gonna go viral, isn't he?" Probably before I finished my coffee. Aiden's chat was already filling with laughing emojis, HOA Karen jokes, and someone typing in all caps, "Drop her address, I want to send her a bouquet of bad decisions." I sighed and headed inside, bypassing the living room, cluttered with half-finished watercolor, floral studies, and a half-eaten blueberry tart. My office was a cozy nook off the den, decorated with framed patents and Lucent concept sketches. The air smelled like cedarwood and determination. I pulled out the Magnolia Circle HOA handbook, a 72-page relic of bureaucracy, and flipped to section 7.4.2. There it was. All vehicles must be parked in enclosed garages unless otherwise designated by the board. I flipped again, this time to the exceptions clause. Sure enough, section 7.4.9, electric vehicles registered to residents may be parked in private driveways, provided they do not obstruct pedestrian access. Boom. My car had been parked in the same spot for 2 years, never blocked the sidewalk, never once raised a fuss, until Dolores woke up and chose violence. I pulled up California Civil Code section 2265. HOAs can't tow from private driveways without due process or a court order. Dolores had skipped both. She had no clue who she was messing with. But I wasn't mad, yet. I was intrigued, curious how far she'd go before realizing she was tangoing with the guy who designed the very EV she kidnapped. I called her number. It rang once, twice. Then Dolores Hawthorne speaking, came the voice. Sharp, dry, like tea left out too long. Hi, Dolores, it's Jasper Reed. I just got your email about my vehicle. Yes, she said crisply. We've received several complaints regarding visual inconsistency and driveway clutter. The board deemed your car in violation. Visual inconsistency. The lavender contrast is disruptive, she said flatly. Also, it sets a precedent for parking. For disarray, she sniffed. Look, I just want to clarify, state law protects private driveways and your own regulation allows EVs in them. Mr. Reed, she interrupted, I won't debate legality with you. The board meets Monday. Your attendance is mandatory. Good day, she hung up. Marin looked up from her sketch pad as I walked back into the kitchen, my expression unreadable. Let me guess. She's doubling down. She's planted her roses and is dying on that hill. This is going to be fun, she said, flipping to a fresh page. I think I'll title this one, Lavender versus Law and Order. Aiden stuck his head in. Dad. Clip's at 300 views already. Someone made a remix. I think we're trending in HOA Reddit. Oh God, I muttered. Not Reddit. That evening, the sun dipped low, painting the lavender bushes in gold. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching the driveway where my Lucent used to sit. Moran sketched in her notebook. Aiden narrated a Twitch stream from his room. Dolores thought she'd scored a win today. But what she didn't know was this: I wasn't just a resident with an electric car. I was the guy who designed it, and she just towed the wrong driveway dream. I didn't need a fight, but if Dolores wanted one, well, she just handed me the blueprint. And the blueprint was about to become a battle plan. The thing about people like Dolores Hawthorne is they don't retreat, they regroup. So while I stood on my lavender-lined porch with a legal file thick enough to squash a bug, and a son live-streaming memes about my impounded Lucent, Dolores was already plotting her next move. Chapter 1 ended with me holding the blueprint to her mistake. Chapter 2 begins with her doubling down in full bloom. The very next morning, before I'd even finished my second espresso, Moraine looked up from the kitchen window and muttered, "Uh-oh, pedal patrol's mobilizing." I joined her at the sink. Sure enough, a small army of retirees in khaki vests and HOA lanyards was canvassing the block. Clipboard brigades marching like it was Normandy. "What is this?" I asked. Marin squinted. "I think it's a garden compliance sweep." One of them was measuring our neighbor's azalea height with a yardstick. Another was staring menacingly at a ceramic gnome like it had committed tax fraud. This can't be real. "Oh, it's Dolores. It's very real." I checked my email. And there it was. A community-wide notice titled Urgent Enforcement of Regulation 9.2 Flora and Vehicle Aesthetic Harmony. It stated that due to an alarming rise in disruptive plantings and vehicular anomalies, the HOA would be conducting a street-by-street inspection. Translation: Dolores didn't like being challenged, so she was retaliating with a neighborhood crackdown. She was targeting not just electric vehicles, but any flower that wasn't HOA approved. I scrolled to the bottom and nearly choked on my toast. All violations, it read, will be subject to immediate citation or corrective action. Marin gasped. "She's coming for the Snapdragons. And the Priuses," I added. "This is about revenge, not roses." Meanwhile, in our living room, Aiden was already streaming. Again. "What's up, HOA watchers? Today's drama. Dolores the Destroyer strikes back. She's out here banning begonias and auditing wheel rims like we're in HOA Hogwarts." I sighed. He's not wrong. But Dolores had picked the wrong day for a dictatorship. A block away, my team was setting up a confidential investor showcase for Lucent's newest prototype, the Bloom Edition, a floral-inspired limited-run EV that just happened to be wrapped in custom paint designed by Marin herself. We'd transformed an old community greenhouse into a pop-up showroom. The plan was soft and quiet impress investors with sustainable design and secure Series G funding without any media noise. But Dolores was staging a horticultural purge next door. By noon, things started to unravel. An HOA volunteer slapped a warning sticker on the windshield of one of the investors' Lucent vehicles, citing floral over-design. It was hand-painted. By Marin. That was the moment the investor, Evelyn Ward, hedge fund partner and bonsai enthusiast, lost her mind. "Is this a joke?" she barked. "You're fining me for decorative leaf etching." The volunteer stammered something about Section 4.3. Evelyn didn't wait. She whipped out her phone and dialed a local contact at the San Francisco Chronicle. "You want drama," she said. "I've got a power-tripping flower cop harassing EVs at a green tech launch. Bring a camera." I had to admit it was impressive. In under 20 minutes, a press van rolled up. Then two. By 3 p.m., there were 5 cameras pointed at Magnolia Circle, microphones, boom mics, a drone. Dolores didn't notice. She was too busy yelling at someone for having a hummingbird feeder 2 inches too close to the driveway. But when she finally marched over to the Lucent showcase, furious clipboard swinging like a weapon, she walked straight into a media ambush. The moment she saw the cameras, she froze. Flash bulbs lit up her HOA vest like Christmas. A reporter stepped forward. "Ma'am, are you aware you're issuing citations at a private business event hosted by Lucent Motors?" Dolores blinked. "This isn't a business event. This is an unauthorized gathering disrupting community order. We've confirmed that Jasper Reed, Lucent's CEO, lives here." "That man is impersonating a public figure," she snapped. "He fabricated a professional identity to intimidate HOA authority." I nearly laughed. She was doubling down on national television. Reporters glanced at each other. One whispered into her mic. A cameraman zoomed in on Dolores's furious face. The segment practically edited itself. I stepped out of the greenhouse tent, calm as ever, holding a sleek tablet. "Hi," I said to the press. "I'm Jasper Reed, CEO of Lucent. My identity is very real. So are my lawyers." Dolores spun toward me, eyes wild. "You've orchestrated chaos. Your car was illegally parked. You violated the Florida decorum code. My car, I said, was in my driveway. Your own bylaws allow it. State law protects it, and you had no right to tow it. You created a spectacle. I countered, gesturing to the news vans, the HOA scouts still measuring daffodils down the street. All I did was park my car. The reporters were eating it up. Flash bulbs, questions, mics shoved forward. "Are you suing the HOA? Will Lucent press charges?" "Is Dolores stepping down?" I didn't answer. "Not yet." Instead, I looked her in the eye and said calmly, "There's an emergency HOA meeting tonight. I'll be there. Bring your paperwork." I turned and walked back into the showcase tent, leaving her steaming in front of half the city's press corps. Marin was inside sketching. Aiden was live streaming. The chat was exploding. HOA Queen caught in 4K. "Lucent Dad is savage. Protect the flowers." I sat down with a lemonade and cracked a grin. We're not done yet. That evening, the Magnolia Circle Community Center was packed. Folding chairs, side glances, whispered gossip, a projector flickering in the background. Dolores stood at the podium, clipboard clutched like a crucifix, hair sprayed into something just short of a helmet. "We are here," she began to address one man's campaign to undermine order. She glared at me. "Mr. Jasper Reed, your continued violations and deceptive conduct threaten this neighborhood's stability. You have manipulated public perception and endangered our standards." I raised a brow. She really was going for the Oscar. But then the doors swung open. Reporters walked in. Cameras rolling. Evelyn Ward. Investors. Neighbors holding copies of the HOA handbook. And there it was, my moment. I walked to the front and turned to the crowd. "My name is Jasper Reed. I live on Rosevale Lane. I park my electric vehicle in my driveway, and 2 days ago it was towed without cause. I pulled out my folder, slid it across the table. Here's the clause that says I can park it there. Here's California law saying you can't tow it. And here's video footage of Dolores ordering it impounded. I clicked a button. On the projector screen behind me, a clip played. Dolores red-faced ordering a tow truck saying, "It ruins the symmetry." The room gasped. Then came the applause. It was quiet at first, then louder. Neighbors stood up. Evelyn nodded. Reporters scribbled. Dolores went pale. Her hand trembled. Her clipboard slipped and hit the floor with a pathetic clatter. I stepped closer. "You have 24 hours to return my vehicle, drop the fine, and issue a public apology, or I file a lawsuit. And I win." Dolores stared, blinking fast. No words came. The board members whispered to each other. One of them stood. "Let's take a recess," she muttered. But the room had already made its decision. Magnolia Circle had seen enough roses. It was time for a reckoning. And the Queen of Petals, she was about to be dethroned. The room was still buzzing with whispers as I stepped down from the podium, leaving behind the shattered remnants of Dolores Hawthorne's authority. Her clipboard, the same one she'd wielded like a judge's gavel for over a decade, lay on the floor next to her feet, silent and powerless. Cameras were still rolling. Neighbors were clapping. The HOA board members were huddled in a corner like they'd just witnessed a royal coup. But I didn't gloat. Not yet. I just walked back to my seat next to Marin, who was calmly sipping from a stainless steel thermos that probably held chamomile tea in quiet triumph. Aiden in the back of the room held up his phone like a war trophy, still streaming the whole showdown to his Twitch followers. The last thing I heard before the meeting recessed was the crackle of someone whispering, "She's done." That night, the air in Bloomridge Heights was heavier than usual. It wasn't the weather, it was the shift. The power shift. For years, Dolores had ruled Magnolia Circle with a smile as sharp as pruning shears, but now her aura had wilted. By morning, the evidence of her fall from grace bloomed like wildfire. An official HOA-wide email hit every inbox at 6:32 a.m., subject line policy clarification and administrative update. The message was brief, clinical, and steeped in carefully worded surrender. Due to an unfortunate miscommunication, the HOA will be immediately releasing Mr. Reed's vehicle without fee or penalty. We regret any confusion and will be reviewing citation procedures moving forward. No apology, no name sign, but everyone knew. Dolores had caved. The Queen of Roses had been dethroned. I opened the email at the breakfast table, holding it up like a rare butterfly to Marin and Aiden. Marin chuckled, flipping a strawberry onto her Greek yogurt. "That's the most passive-aggressive white flag I've ever seen." Aiden read it twice, then grinned. "Dad Twitch wants a follow-up. They're calling it the Lavender Rebellion." "Let's not poke the bear," I said, sipping my coffee. We already uprooted her kingdom, but the HOA board didn't need a nudge. By that afternoon, I received a call from one of the board members, Linda Parsons, a soft-spoken master gardener with a spine made of steel. "We'd like to offer you an advisory position," she said, "on the Rule Revision Committee. People trust you now. You stood up for your driveway. For all our driveways." I agreed under one condition. No more aesthetic citations based on flower type or vehicle design. Lavender driveways are here to stay. She laughed. "I'll bring the roses. You bring the blueprint." And just like that, the culture of fear began to fade. Lucent's PR team, who had been cautiously watching the entire drama unfold like a live-action marketing opportunity, moved quickly. They organized a community-wide tour of Lucent's Bloomridge facility, a rare chance for neighbors to step inside the innovation labs where our electric vehicles were designed and tested. We themed it Roots and Revolutions. The invitation email featured hydrangeas, the Bloom Edition prototype, and a cartoon of a clipboard in a recycling bin. The community showed up in droves. Retirees, young families, even the ones who had once sided with Dolores. Curiosity had replaced suspicion. Aiden live-streamed the entire event, narrating with theatrical flair. "Behind these walls, my dad builds the future. And right here, this is where Dolores's citation empire met its compostable end." Maureen hosted a botanical sketching session inside the Lucent Garden atrium, where kids and parents painted daisies, tulips, and yes, lavender rose with watercolors and digital brushes. I gave a quiet unveiling of the Lucent Bloom Edition, standing beneath a cascading floral arch made of roses and solar panels. When the silk sheet lifted off the new prototype, the crowd actually gasped. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol. A rebellion on wheels painted in shades inspired by Marin's gallery and accented with floral motifs that would have given Dolores a coronary. As cameras flashed and applause rose, I spotted Linda Parsons beaming near the back, mouthing, "You did it." Later that weekend, we hosted a neighborhood barbecue in our backyard. The lavender bushes were in full bloom, the garden lights strung between the oak trees twinkled as the sun dipped behind the hills. The air smelled like smoked ribs, fresh basil, and the sweet relief of reclaimed peace. Neighbors brought wine, desserts, and stories. Rufus, our former Air Force pilot neighbor, held court with tales about Dolores ticketing his mailbox for unauthorized patriotism. She said my flagpole was too vertical. He grumbled, sending the whole circle into laughter. Marin raised her glass midway through the evening. To freedom, to flowers, and to front yards. A cheer went up that rippled through the entire block. Aiden, streaming as usual, read off a comment aloud. "Lucent dad for president. Guys, don't tempt him. He's already rewriting laws in our zip code." I laughed and shook my head. I just wanted my car back. "And you got a revolution instead." Marin winked. As twilight settled into dusk, I stepped away from the crowd to water the hydrangeas by our fence. That's when I noticed it. A gray sedan idling at the far end of the street. Windows up, engine running. Behind the wheel, Dolores Hawthorne. She didn't get out. Just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, eyes on the celebration she no longer ruled. Her red HOA polo replaced with something beige. Her hair pulled back. Clipboard nowhere in sight. We locked eyes for a moment across the shadows and the garden lights. I didn't wave. I didn't smirk. I just nodded. A soft, final nod. The kind you give someone when the game is over and both sides know who lost. She drove off slowly, tires crunching against gravel. No citations, no glares, just silence. I turned back toward my garden, the Lucent Bloom edition, gleaming quietly in the driveway behind me. I leaned against the porch post, looked into the camera Aiden had mounted near the edge of the yard, and gave the closing line I'd been saving all week. Sometimes the people with the biggest clipboards forget that peace is a right, not a reward. You've got a right to your roses, your driveways, and your life. So don't let anyone uproot your peace. Not even the Queen of Roses. Then I smiled. Oh, and next week I accidentally turned my backyard into a charging hub for half the block. Cables, confused delivery guys, and a very fried lawn gnome. You'll want to stick around, Aiden shouted from the porch. Smash that like button and subscribe for more HOA survival tips. The crowd roared. The roses glowed. And just like that, Bloomridge Heights bloomed again, freer, louder, and finally ours. In neighborhoods across America, stories like Jasper Reed's unfold in quieter ways every day. Maybe it's not a lavender-lined driveway or a clipboard-wielding HOA president, but it's a familiar tension, someone overstepping someone, being silenced, and someone deciding enough is enough. Jasper didn't seek a fight. He wasn't out to make headlines. All he wanted was to park his car in peace. But when that simple right was stripped from him, he stood his ground not with anger or revenge, but with knowledge, law, and quiet dignity. The lesson here is clear: never underestimate the power of calm, persistence, and truth. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to fight dirty to win. Jasper chose to play by the rules even when someone else didn't. He did his homework, knew his rights, and let facts, not fury, lead the way. In a time where power often tries to intimidate, this story reminds us that authority must also be accountable. Whether it's a homeowners association, a neighborhood bully, or a system that's lost touch with fairness rules, should never be used to silence, control, or humiliate. And perhaps most importantly, the story highlights the strength of community. Jasper didn't win alone. His family stood beside him, his son using the tools of a new generation, his wife offering both support and satire, and his neighbors showing up when it mattered most. When people unite around what's right, the noise of fear falls quiet. So to all our listeners, know your rights, speak your truth, and never be afraid to push back when something isn't fair. Justice doesn't always roar. It sometimes arrives in the form of a father reading bylaws, a teenager with a camera, or a neighbor refusing to be pushed around. From all of us here at Us, Justice Stories, thank you for spending your time with us. If this story made you think of a time you had to stand your ground, or if you've ever faced your own Queen of Roses, we want to hear about it. Drop a comment, share your story, and let's keep this conversation going. Because your voice matters. And hey, thank you again for being part of this growing community. Every like, every share, every listen, it means the world to us. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and never let anyone tow your peace.